I want to thank Pablo Turi again for joining me yesterday to have a wide-ranging, open-ended, unscripted conversation about all things NFL Players Association. There was a new item at ESPN.com today from Don Van Natta Jr. and Kalen Kaler about the hiring of Lloyd Howell and the collapse of his tenure. And after I read it, the question that I kept coming back to is very simple. Have they learned from the hiring and also the blind circling of the wagons around Lloyd Howell when the walls started to close in? I know I'm mixing metaphors, but when it was becoming more and more apparent that Lloyd Howell needed to go, the mindset was fight, attack. Remember the statement that was issued by the executive committee? It was one of those political style attack, 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 deny, 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 always declare victory, never admit defeat. We're right, you're wrong, even when we're wrong. What have they learned from all of this? And there are many lessons to be learned, many lessons to be learned by the NFL Players Association over what happened with Lloyd Howell. From the top secret, non-transparent selection process that had objectively good candidates not make it to the final six. And then at the end, you've got two candidates where the executive committee believes that one is superior by a straw poll of 10-1, and the other one is the one who gets the job because they didn't tell the board of player reps that they strongly preferred the other guy. It's all ridiculous. The issues with Lloyd Howell, as somebody said in the ESPN article, if you're going to run a union, you need to be unblemished. And there were blemishes up the wazoo for Lloyd Howell. Reasons to say we could probably do better. Hell, reasons for the other guy where you could have said we probably could do better. Are they trying their damnedest to do the best they can do? Russell Reynolds, the search firm, that group has not gotten nearly enough scrutiny here. And there was some reporting, it was Washington Post, because there's this weird connection. Anamika Gupta worked at Booz Allen, where Lloyd Howell worked for years. She was there 2002 to 2006. Then more recently, she's at Russell Reynolds. Then after the Russell Reynolds search firm tees up Lloyd Howell and he becomes the next executive director of the NFLPA, he hires her to be the chief of staff. There's just some weird tentacles here, and I know that Russell Reynolds is vehemently denied. And how dare you? How dare you, sir? How dare you even question us? That's the attitude that their quote to the Washington Post conveyed to me. That's my opinion. Don't sue me for that. But the attitude was, how dare you even question us? We are indignant. Challenged me to a duel for daring to suggest that something untoward is happening here. But there's so much about all of this that has been untoward. Conflicts of interest galore. What are you going to learn from this? And who do you have in place to help you learn it? They say they're going to name a new interim executive director in the near future. That was the statement from Jalen Reeves-Maven, the president of the union, who had been completely silent. And he's not even on a team now. He's got plenty of time to do union stuff. He could do interviews. He could issue statements. He can be around. He can be present. He's not on a team. I know he needs to keep himself in shape, but he's not on a team, which also means the clock is ticking toward him no longer being the NFLPA president. But I feel like there is a complete and total leadership vacuum. And the biggest question is this: who will your interim executive director be? The only names I've seen so far are people who are already working for the union or NFL Players Inc. or otherwise, in the building, under the bubble. You need to pop out of the bubble. They did that in the hiring of Lloyd Howell. The story from ESPN talks about how they were smitten with this idea that he's not a union guy, he's a company guy. He wants to be cooperative, not combative, but he knows how to fight with unions, which is kind of inconsistent. We want a guy who's cooperative, not combative. Let's get a guy who used to fight with unions. Okay? How about if you're going to do that? And this leads into the first question. Now, let me just say, most of the time I regret having a presence on that cesspool, formerly known as Twitter, because There's a lot of ugliness. There's a lot of hate. Every once in a while, I'm happy that we're there. And this is one of those rare days where I'm very happy that we've maintained our presence, because I got a question from Trevor Van Straten that when I first saw it, I thought, all right, that's good. Let's add it to the stack. And then as I thought about it and I thought about it and I talked to some people about it, and you know my position on this. I am not going to play Game of Thrones. If you think that you or someone you represent or someone you know or whatever would be a great candidate to be the interim executive director, don't try to get me to take up the case. And it's been attempted. Don't try to get me to say, hey, here's somebody who'd be a good candidate. That's not happening. I'm making an exception, and not because I've heard that this person is interested. I'm just trying to think of it from the standpoint of what is best for the NFL Players Association at this point in their existence. And, you know, they were kind of halfway there with Lloyd Howell. Let's get someone from management. Let's get someone not who has experience running unions, which would probably advisable, but let's get somebody who's got experience on the other side. Well, if you're going to do that, no half measures, as Mike Ehrmantraut said. Get somebody from the other side in this specific relationship. Get somebody from inside the walls of 345 Park Avenue. And not just somebody from the league office. This is an opportunity that has fallen into the laps of the NFL Players Association. I hadn't thought of it until this question came in. Here's the question from Trevor Van Straten. Could you see Mark Murphy, the outgoing Packers CEO, being a viable interim head of the union? He won't be the Packers president as of Friday, and he was a former player. And yes, it's genius. He wasn't just an employee of the league. He was a de facto owner. He was the guy who held the vote at the table with the other 31 multi-billionaires. He's the only millionaire in the room of billionaires. And he was there, and he was involved. And I can't remember why, but I remember the union was pissed at him in 2011. They were pissed at Mark Murphy after the CBA was resolved. Pissed. And you know what? Good. That means that he was doing his job. He was fighting for his constituents. He got the best deal he could for his partners. Man, now I have no idea if he'd be interested, but man, I would throw a giant pile of money at Mark Murphy to come be the interim executive director for a year. A year. Give him a year. Give him $10 million to come be the executive director of the union. And hell, maybe he's your answer after that. I'd want him around for the next CBA. This is your only way. NFLPA, let me tell you something. This is free advice. This is a great deal for you, players. I will happily try to promote your interests without you ever having to give me a penny. This is a great move. You get a guy who knows what the NFL's playbook is, who's been involved in the formulation of the next playbook. Remember the commissioner said after the May meetings, we spent a lot of time talking about the financial side of the next CBA and the salary cap and is it working? It was a message, I believe, that we're going to try to change the current financial formula in the next CBA. I firmly believe they're going to try to take away the 50-50 split and do something less or do a specific set number for the salary cap every year, and whatever money comes in above that goes to the owners. Murphy knows all that. And I don't know, is there's some contract that he'd be breaching? There's some NDA? I don't know. I'd at least make the phone call, because he's leaving the Packers due to one specific reality. In their corporate bylaws, once you turn 70, you got to go. Former player, knows the specific business very well, was in the room for all the important meetings over the last 15, 20 years, however long he's been the president. Man, that's who I would call. That's who I would interview. That's who I would want to be the executive director of the NFLPA, interim and possibly through the next CBA. You want to level the playing field, players? That's how you do it. You got to do something bold. You got to do something outside the box. You got to do something that will strike fear into the hearts of the owners. And gets back to that misguided idea. We need somebody who's going to cooperate, not somebody who's going to agitate. No, you are dealing with some of the richest people in the world who are used to getting their way. And they will shake your hand and smile while they stick a knife in your ribs. They are ruthless. They didn't get that rich by not being ruthless. There's a certain amount of wealth that you will only compile if you are ruthless, charmingly ruthless. You need somebody who knows how they operate, who can speak their language, and who will be able to go toe-to-toe with them and create leverage and not hide a partial victory in a key arbitration ruling in a desk for 5 months. That's my pitch. That's the only name I'm going to mention. And I have no idea if he wants it. He may be mad that I'm even suggesting it. And there may be some legal barrier to him doing it. I don't know. But if I'm the NFL players right now, I want Mark Murphy as my interim executive director and possibly beyond. Because the only way we're going to come out of this next CBA discussion with a fair shake is with somebody who knows what's going on the other side of the curtain, because he's been there for years.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.